we have a malcontent wide receiver ready to implode.
Yeah.
No way we're going to have a chance. No way.
When people discuss the careers of both past and current National Football League players, it's easy to be distracted by things as how much they earn and the numerous stories that are written about them in the papers. However, it would be a bit short-sighted to crucify most of these players without a good knowledge of what they've also been through, especially before their professional careers. This video will be a reminder that these players are not just players, they're also people who, before their successful careers today, had stories and past life that explains a lot about them and the decisions they make. Before we move on with the video, if you are new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button on your screen and become part of this YouTube family. Now that you're a part of the family, let's dive right into the list. Number 1. Herschel Walker. First on our list is Herschel Walker. Walker, like many other athletes, had to work hard to become the star athlete that he was. Growing up, a lot of people picked on him because he was overweight, and to make matters worse for him, he had a speech impediment, and this made his journey a very difficult one. He had to go through a rigorous training regimen to become one of the best athletes in the state. If only his bullies had known, they would probably have been a lot friendlier to him back in the day. As a result of the ordeals he had to go through as a child, Walker developed multiple personality disorder and is still in a fight with that till this date. This battle with his disorder inspired him to write a book about it with the hopes that people are inspired by it and encouraged never to lose hope. Number 2. Ray Lewis. Next on our list is another retired NFL player, Ray Lewis. From a pretty young age, Lewis has taken the position of leadership in his house due to his father's absence. He practically took care of his 4 younger siblings. Ray probably felt hatred for his father, and this was probably the reason he changed his name from Ray Jenkins to Ray Lewis. He became a star athlete during his high school days and entered the University of Miami with a full scholarship. Today, he is an accomplished athlete with 2 Super Bowl victories with the Ravens in the NFL. Number 3. Daunte Culpepper. Born to a single mother who is serving time in a correctional institute while still pregnant with him, saying Daunte Culpepper definitely did not grow up under the ideal conditions in which a kid should grow up would be an understatement. He was adopted alongside 15 other kids by Emma Lewis Culpepper when he was just a day old. Till date, he claims that the reason he was able to grow into a well-educated athlete was because of his new mother. Prior to throwing touchdowns passes to Randy Moss and a quarterback, Daunte was an adopted child struggling to find a direction for himself. Today, we can say that he has definitely left his mark on the history books. Number 4. Knowshon Moreno. Knowshon Moreno, before becoming a professional NFL player, was a kid who was homeless and had to bounce around homeless shelters in Upper Manhattan. Born to a 16-year-old girl, Verashon McQueen, and a 17-year-old Freddie Moreno, he finally got to live with his grandmother. Later on in his life, he was relegated to scout team's duties on the Broncos. He overcame these hurdles and helped the Broncos make it to the Super Bowl. Number 5. Tamba Hali. Tamba Hali was born in 1983 in a country that was divided by war, Liberia. His mother had been forced to flee their hometown, Kabanga, with him and his siblings. They could barely get enough to eat and eventually fled to the Ivory Coast and then to America. However, his mother had to stay back on Ivory Coast because the United States only granted visas to the children. In 2006, Hali was able to bring his mother to America when he finally became a citizen of the country. Number 6. Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham, who is now worth around $21 million, says there was a time when he was worth just $98. His father had refused to pay his mother that exact amount for child support every month. Graham was dropped off at social services and was eventually surrendered to the state. While at his new home, there was a group of teenagers who would always take turns in beating him, and every time he tried to call his mother, she refused to talk to him. Later on in his life, he met Becky Vincent at the Abundant Life Fellowship Church, who raised him as her own and developed him growing into a star athlete. Number 7. Darnell Dockett. Darnell Dockett's life as a child is probably one of the saddest things you will hear today. At an early age of 13, he became all too familiar with the concept of death. He had returned home one day to meet his mother dead with a bullet wound on the head. His father died not so long after as a result of pancreatic cancer. He had terrible grades in college and earned a bad reputation as a shoplifter for himself. This bad reputation and bad grades were the reason teams refused to take him in. Later on, the Cardinals took him, and he became quite a player for them. Number 8. Adam Jones. Next on our list is Adam Jones. Jones's life had been a roller coaster since he was a kid. He literally heard the gunshots that killed his father outside his apartment in Bankhead, Boat Rock. He had to grow up under the guidance of his mother and grandmother, and, as expected, he carried a lot of baggage with him when he entered the NFL. Only recently, he played a role in a shooting that occurred in a strip club in Las Vegas and was instructed by a judge to pay a sum of $11.65 million in compensatory damages. Today, he appears to be an entirely different person who now addresses rookies in symposiums and advises them not to take the same route that he took. Number 9. Michael Oher. Next on our list is Michael Oher, who rose from a violent upbringing to becoming one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. From the movie titled The Blind Side, we see his journey from the slums to the Ravens. From dealing with drugs and violent gangs, he broke away and lived with the Tulay family. This was when Oher was given an opportunity to channel his frustration into hard work on and off the field. Today, Oher is a winner of the Super Bowl. Number 10. Brandon Marshall. Another name on this list is Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall's childhood was a very eventful one. He had a father who constantly abused and assaulted his mother. In 1991, the police found a very large amount of illegal substances in his father's truck. Marshall also had his share of problems with the authorities. Before entering the NFL, he had a number of encounters with the authorities, but has worked hard to create a better reality for himself. Today, he is one of the premier receivers in the game. Number 11. Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens is another name that needs to be on this list. His childhood was a really difficult one. He is known today for being very outspoken and controversial, but we think understanding his past might just help people understand why he is the way he is today. He was born to a 17-year-old mother, but had to be brought up by a very overprotective grandmother. His grandmother was so overprotective that she didn't let him play with the other kids. She wouldn't even let him leave the yard. Owen grew up always watching others from the windows. What Owen could never have prepared himself for was when he found out that his father and sister had actually been living across the street from him his entire life. You can imagine what this felt like for a kid who was forced to stay indoors throughout his childhood. Number 12. Curtis Martin. Curtis Martin is another name that has to be on this list. Martin had grown up under very tough circumstances, but what made it almost unbearable was the torture his mother was always subjected to by his alcoholic father. His father would abuse his mother by setting her hair on fire and burning cigarettes into her legs. Martin chose not to give up on a better reality for himself and his mother, and today has used football to change not just his mother's life, but also the lives of many others. At his Hall of Fame ceremony, he recalled his tough upbringing and brought the whole crowd to tears. There are several other NFL players who literally had nothing and had it tough growing up, but chose not to give up. They struggled to get to the top of the NFL and today are enjoying the rewards of not giving up. Hopefully, these stories will serve as a motivation to other young people out there who are struggling to hold on to the hope of a better future for themselves. We have come to the end of this video. Please hit the like button, turn on your notifications button, and do not forget to tell us what you think about the stories and which of them actually motivated you the most in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.